So just coming to a seated position, and whether you're on a chair or if you have a blanket or a pillow underneath your seat is great. I'm going to grab, actually, my sweatshirt is going to act as my pillow today. And next week, I'm going to bring my own blanket. They normally have pillows and blankets here at the YMCA, but they're all put away for COVID. So, all right. So just getting comfortable here in your seated position, maybe making any little small adjustments. Just to notice the spine long. And we'll take a few moments here just to breathe. Paying attention to the breath. And in yoga, we use the ujjayi breath. So we're inhaling in through the nose and out, exhaling out through the nose. And the breath actually comes up the back of the throat and out the root of the nose. It's a hot breath. So if you think about, or you might even take your hand and pretend like you're fogging up a mirror. So if you were going to fog up a mirror with your mouth, you'd make a sound, like on a hiss coming up the back of your throat. And it's that same breath that we take in yoga, but we push it out the root of our nose. So we inhale here and then exhale that hot air that would steam up a mirror or fog up a mirror out the nose. And it makes that nice oceanic sound as we breathe. So taking a few breaths here just to notice that, kind of be attuned to your own breath. Maybe slowing the breath down and lengthening the breath. I invite you to take one hand onto the belly and notice the belly rising and falling with the breath. As you continue to breathe, I'll introduce you to our mantra for our practice today. A mantra is just a saying or a focus, and it's always just an invitation. So if you have a mantra that serves your practice better, that's wonderful. But I always like to offer a mantra in case it's helpful to focus the mind. So our mantra for today is: attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. Attention. And what I like about this mantra is that our yoga practice is a time for us to be generous with ourselves. So we get to pay attention. It's a rare and pure form of generosity. So let's here just begin to roll the shoulders, bringing the shoulders forward and up to the ears on the inhale, and then down the backside of the body on the exhale, forward and up on the inhale, and then down and back on the exhale. We're not forcing anything here. It's nice and easy. allow the shoulders to rest down away from the ears and begin to move the neck, taking the right ear over towards the right shoulder, breathing here. And then back to center, taking the left ear over to the left shoulder, breathing. And back to center. And then we'll take the chin down and sweep it across the chest. Again, not forcing anything here, just taking one ear gently to the shoulder and then sweeping the chin down across the chest. Opposite ear to shoulder. Breathing. Good. One more time. And then we'll bring that head back to neutral and just take the nose back towards the back side of the body. Notice how that tucks the chin and then aligns the ears right over the shoulders. So oftentimes we spend our lives out here kind of in this forward plane. So we're just thinking about tucking that chin and nose back, stacking up those ears over the shoulders. And then we're going to lift the chin up towards the sky, looking and lifting, breathing here. And then bringing the gaze back to center, but think about keeping that chin tucked as you do so. So bringing it back to neutral, but keeping the chin and nose tucked back, ears stacked, and then go ahead and bring the gaze down towards the floor. And then as you bring the gaze back to center, again, think about that chin tuck, ears stacked over shoulders, and look up, breathing here, and back to center, ears over shoulders. Good. Let's bring those hands to heart center, pressing the palms together. And we're going to inhale, lift the arms up overhead. Allow the gaze to follow, looking up past those fingertips. And then exhale, bring those hands down into the chest and let the chest arch and the back of the body, the back of the spine, roll forward, tucking the chin to the chest. So we're rounding here. And then we're going to inhale, open up, bringing those hands back up towards the sky, and the gaze lifts. Good. Exhale, hug those hands back into heart center, allowing the back to curve, the chin to tuck. Good. Couple more just like that. Inhale up. Exhale, draw it in. One more time up towards the sky. And then we'll release those hands down, taking them down beside the hips. Very nice. Let's leave that right hand down beside that right hip. So if you're on a chair here, you could kind of touch the edge of the chair. Or if you're on the floor, the fingertips might be on the floor here. And then we're going to take the fingertips up. Let's see. What am I doing here? Yeah, there we go. We're going to take the fingertips of the left hand to the back of the head. And then we're going to twist around, taking that left elbow across the body and looking over that right shoulder. Now you can stay right here, or if you'd like to, release those left fingertips down to that right knee. Just helping you with this little gentle twist here, keeping the spine nice and long as you breathe. Filling the belly with air. Paying attention and noticing how this twist feels in your body. And then inhaling, those left fingertips are going to come back up to the back of the head, and inhale, come to center. Good. We'll exhale, release that left hand down beside the left hip. So if you're in the chair, feel free to just graze that hand along the side of the chair, or if you're on the floor, maybe those fingertips touch. And then we'll inhale, right fingertips to the back of the right head, and exhale as you bring that right elbow across the body, and that gaze looks back over the left shoulder. Now from here, if you'd like, you can release that right hand down to the left knee, just aiding in that twist, but we're not using it like a pry bar, right? So we're not twisting, pulling ourselves into this twist. We're just allowing the spine to rotate naturally here. Breathing deeply. And inhale that right hand back up and back to center. Good. Now we'll take both hands to the back of the head, and we're not pulling here on the head at all. So our fingertips are just really light on the head. And then we're going to draw those elbows down and back as we open up the heart, lifting the gaze towards the sky. And then exhale, draw the elbows together. So don't pull the head forward, pull the elbows forward. And we're reaching those elbows around to see if we can bring them to touching. And then inhale, open up the heart, take those elbows back and maybe even down a little bit, opening up the heart. And exhale all the air out, seeing if you can bring those elbows forward without pulling on the head at all. Good. One more time. Inhale, open up. And exhale, draw those elbows together. Good. Back to neutral. And inhale, arms up to the sky. Wiggle those fingers here. And exhale, release the hands all the way down beside the hips. Good. Your hands can come gently to the knees here as we take some gentle torso circles. So we're going to take actually our rib cage. So rather than hinging from the hips, we're sort of rotating from our rib cage here. And we're going to take our rib cage over to the left and then forward, over to the right, and then take the rib cage back. Good. And then back to center. So we're sort of drawing a little cube here with the rib cage. And then later, we're going to add our hips into this rotation. So we're just flowing with our breath here. Inhaling as we come forward, over to the opposite side, exhaling back. Good. Let's rotate or reverse that direction. Taking it forward, over, back, across. Inhale, forward, over, back, across. Good. And at this point, we're still just using our rib cage. So both of our sits bones are staying on the seat. Good. And now we're going to start hinging from the hips. So we'll actually let the whole torso follow us now and get a little more of a stretch in our low back. Inhale, sit up tall. And let's rotate directions each time. So we're going to, or reverse directions each time. All right. So we'll exhale as we hinge forward and inhale as we sit up tall. Exhale as you hinge to the side, forward, and inhale draws you up tall. Good. There's no need to follow at my same pace. You can be totally on your own pace here, taking this as deep as what you feel comfortable, or keeping it nice and small. Working on honoring our own bodies and our own breath. That's why I love this quote. Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. I think we're not often very generous with ourselves. We might be very generous with others. It's good to find a time and a space to offer that same generosity and care, that attention to ourselves. Good. Let's meet back up here at center. And then we're going to come on to all fours. So again, if you have your blanket or your pillow, you might want to just leave that pillow down so that it's underneath the knees here to make this on our knee portion a little more comfortable. You can also stay in the chair. And what we're going to do is we're going to extend our leg here. So when we extend our leg back behind us from all fours, if you're in a chair, you're going to simply extend that leg out in front of you and then work on keeping those toes up. So feel free, if you're more comfortable staying in a chair, feel free to do that. Otherwise, you can come to your knees and just place that blanket or pillow underneath your knees as we come on to all fours. And just noticing here this nice neutral spine. We're reaching through the crown of the head and back through the tailbone. Our fingers are spread nice and wide here. And then we're planting the top of this left foot down on the floor. So we're pressing the top of that foot down as we extend our right leg back behind us. Or if you're seated in a chair, you might be extending that right foot out in front of you, lifting those toes towards the sky. If you're down on the floor, the ball of the foot is on the floor and you're kicking through the heel. And we're going to rock back and just feel a nice stretch through the back of that right leg, through the calf, the back of the knee, maybe even up through the hamstring. And then we're going to rock forward, coming on to the toes or more onto the ball of the foot. And maybe here you feel a stretch through the wrists and then rock back. Good. So if you're in your chair here and you have that foot extended, what this will look like is just pointing and flexing that extended foot. Pointing and flexing as we rock forward and back. Breathing. One more time. Position here. We're going to bend that extended leg, taking the heel up towards the sky, and then just kick up towards the sky, lifting the bottom of the foot up towards the sky here. Breathing, keeping that core nice and tight. And then lowering that leg down to the floor. And we're going to sink back into child's pose here just to rest those wrists a little bit, maybe even rolling those wrists. And if your child's pose does not look like my child's pose, that's okay. So your hips may be up high, leaving lots of space for the hips and knees and belly. Or you may be able to settle back into the hips here. That tabletop position or on all fours, or extending your opposite leg out in front of you in that chair. So here we're going to ground now down through the top of that right foot. So we're pressing the top of the right foot down into the floor as we extend our left foot back behind us, kicking through that heel, or if you're in your chair, lifting those toes up towards the nose. Good. From here, we'll begin to rock with our breath. Exhale as you stretch back, kicking through that heel. And then inhaling as you come forward, getting a nice stretch through the wrists. I did a lot of yard work yesterday, so these wrist stretches feel really nice. I don't know if any of you have had carpal tunnel, but I have. And I actually had carpal tunnel surgery done several years ago, and it was helpful for about a year. And then it came back full force, which I think is pretty uncommon for surgery to not just be successful with carpal tunnel, but my wrists really enjoy a good stretch. And yard work is one of those things that really aggravate carpal tunnel. All those repetitive motions. Just a couple more here. Breathing, pointing and flexing that extended leg. Good. And then we'll meet back up. Neutral position. Bend that leg. And then push that foot up towards the sky here. Like you're standing on the ceiling with that back leg. Breathing. And slowly releasing it down. And then we'll rock back again into child's pose. So again, your child's pose may be high and lifted, or you may be able to sink back and settle those hips down towards your heels here, taking a nice little rest. If you're in a chair, child's pose may look like just widening those legs a little bit and allowing the torso to fold over the thighs, letting the head rest between the knees. And this is a good time to just come back to that breath. Slowly make our way back up to all fours. And from here, we're going to make our way up into a standing position. So that might look different for you than it does for me. You can just bring yourself to a standing position however that's most comfortable for you. Taking your time, though, getting up, maybe clearing your space so that your chair is beside you for a little balance support if that feels safe, or maybe even having it behind you if you have any kind of sense that you might need it back there for support. So we're just making our way to a standing position. And then once we're standing, let's make sure that our feet are hip width distance apart, or maybe even a little wider than hip width distance apart. And then we can begin to just rock forward and back over the balls of the feet and over the heels. Traditionally, yoga is done barefoot, but you're free to do yoga in socks or shoes, whatever feels good. I like bare feet because you can really feel the different points of the foot. And so many of us tend to spend a lot of time either forward on the foot or back into the heel, or we tend to either pronate or supinate, spending the time on the inside or outside edges of our foot. And so yoga is a good time to kind of get in touch with how those points of the foot feel. I like to think about the foot as like 4 points: the inside and outside of the ball of the foot, and the inside and outside of the heel of the foot, and finding our weight sort of centered over those 4 points. So you can take a moment here just to notice maybe what's natural for you, what's less natural for you, maybe exploring the edges of the foot by bringing them in and out, forward and back. And then we'll come into a mountain pose by rolling those palms forward, noticing those shoulders down and back, our head in a nice neutral position here. And then inhale the arms up overhead, looking up past the fingertips, and exhale, releasing the hands down beside the hips. And now we're going to scoop. So we're going to take those palms forward and we're going to bend the knees slightly. And we're going to take a big scoop here with our arms, like we're scooping up a big, I don't know, what are we scooping? A big piece of earth or air. And then we're going to keep those palms back behind us, just opening. Maybe the gaze lifts slightly here, but we're pressing those palms up to the sky. And then exhale, we're scooping back down, taking that same path and drawing those elbows back. And now we're going to do it again. So we'll inhale as we take a big scoop out in front of us here, fully extending through the legs, grounding down through the big toes, palms pressing back. And exhale, following that path back down, drawing those elbows all the way back. Good, let's do that a few more times. And again, there's no need to go at my same pace. Just allow your own breath to guide you. Let's exhale, release the arms down and give them a little shake. Good. All right, we're going to come into a little standing rotation here. So make sure those feet are nice and wide, and you can even take them out a little bit wider here if you don't feel stable. So we're going to inhale the arms up overhead, being mindful to keep the shoulders down away from the ears. So no shrugging here. Keep those shoulders down, neck nice and long. And then exhale, just releasing those arms down beside the hips. Nice soft arms here is what we're going for. And then inhale with the breath back to center, and exhale, release those hands down. Again, nice and soft. So we want this to feel nice and relaxed and kind of fluid here. So here we're going to inhale up. We're coming back through center and exhale down. So we can even soften the knees. We want this to feel really fluid. Inhale up and exhale down. Good. Scooping up. Inhale. Good. I think you've got the idea. So we're just swaying here, rotating the spine side to side. Nice and fluid. Last one here. Good. Exhale those arms down to heart center. So press those palms together and find those thumbs touching the chest, finding the center of the chest here. And from here, we're just going to sit our weight back into our heels. You may want to toe heel those feet together a little bit just so that those feet are stacked right up underneath the hips now. And we're sitting back down into chair, really pressing those thumbs into heart center. We're drawing our low abdominals in and up. Sitting down into chair, we're staying nice and long here so our chest does not collapse. We keep a nice long spine here as we ground down through those feet. So we're pressing the feet down through the floor. and breathe. Good. Let's find one more breath here. And inhale to rise. Good. All the way up. And then a nice big exhale. Let it out. Good. All right. We're going to come to a nice wide-legged stance now. So maybe even wider than your mat if you're working on a mat. And if you're not working on a mat, that's great too. But a nice wide stance. All right. And then we're going to turn those right toes forward. Right toes forward. Good. All right. Now from here, we are going to lift our arms to shoulder height, but we've already done quite a bit of shoulder work. So if you find that your arms are feeling extra heavy or your shoulders are tight, feel free to do these next few movements with the hands on the hips or even the hands behind the low back, gently clasped behind the low back. So I'm going to keep mine lifted for now. And then I'm just going to bend into that right knee, just exploring that space there. Noticing that my knee is going right out over the middle toes of that right foot. And then inhale, straightening that leg. So I'll exhale, lunge into that right leg a little bit here. Noticing a nice stretch here through the inner thigh. And inhale, lifting up. So we're just exploring that space, breathing. Last one. Good. And then bring those right toes around, and then the left toes will open up, kind of opening up. That right hip will roll back and that left knee guides out over the left toes. Again, we'll lift those arms to shoulder height, and we can explore that space here, feeling a nice stretch through the inner thigh or maybe even that back thigh here, and inhaling to lift and lengthen. Good. So we're sinking down on the exhale, and on inhale, we're lifting and lengthening, really lifting up out of those feet. So we are planting the feet down and lifting up out of them like we're rooting here. Lift. Those left toes around now so that both of our feet are pointed parallel to one another. Our hands can come to our hips, and we want a slight little bend in the knees, just softening the knees slightly as we begin to hinge forward, keeping the spine nice and long. And then once you're down about halfway, you can soften the backside of the body and allow the head to come down. Now, this is a good time to use the edge of a table or a chair, or if you have your pillow or your blanket, and that brings the floor up a little bit. So feel free, if you have that chair or pillow, to place your hands on here in Prasarita. That's a great place to stay. Or if you have access to the floor, go ahead and allow the hands to come down towards the floor, letting the backside of the body soften here. And then we'll begin to bring our awareness back to that breath. Noticing with the inhale, we lift and lengthen slightly, creating some space. And on the exhale, we soften and fold into that space we've created. would like to approach Prasarita with some exploration in mind. So feel free to rock your weight forward over the balls of the feet or walk both of your hands over towards one leg. Do what feels right for you in this posture. If it feels nice to allow the chair to take more of your weight or even place the forehead down on the seat of your chair, it's a great place to explore as well. Good. We're going to very gently make our way back up to standing. So soften those knees. Use the chair if you're using it to just slowly press your way up into a standing position, allowing your head to be the very last thing to come up, and take your time. Maybe taking a moment here just to glance down at those fingertips, regaining your composure. And we'll toe heel those feet together or step the feet together. And we're going to make our way down onto the floor for our final portion, our final Shavasana. A few little stretches here on the mat, and then we'll go into our final Shavasana. So just making your way down to the floor, or if you would prefer to finish class from a seated position in a chair, feel free to do that as well. So we're going to make our way all the way down onto our backs. Now, if you have a blanket nearby, you might want to keep it handy for our final Shavasana. Sometimes placing a blanket under the upper back feels really nice. So go ahead and keep it handy. We're going to lower down here onto our spines. Just noticing that that head is neutral here. We have a nice gap between our chin and our chest. And our hands are down beside our hips, palms facing the floor. And then we're going to use our core, our abdominal muscles, to come into a reverse tabletop position. So we're bending those knees at 90 degrees and reaching those toes up towards the sky. From here, we're going to inhale as we hinge from that right hip. And we're going to lower that right heel down to the floor. And then exhale, bring it back up into that tabletop position, shin parallel to the floor. So we're inhaling as we hinge here from that left hip. Inhale, that left heel will find the floor, and then exhale, draw it back up. So we're really working here on our core strength, pressing our low back down into the floor as we sort of march our legs right and then left, using the hinge coming from the hips as we squeeze and brace the core. So the hands can be down on the mat here, or if it helps you to kind of identify which muscles you're using here, you might even place the hands on the fronts of the hips. Breathing deeply. Last one. Good. Go ahead and lower those feet to the floor here. Just finding the feet gentle on the floor, and then extend those arms out to the sides of the room, palms facing the floor. Good. From here, take a nice big inhale. And then exhale, guide the knees over to the right. And you can walk those feet out a little bit wider here too if you'd like. And then you can take the gaze out over the left fingertips. Just a very gentle spinal twist here. Inhaling and exhaling. Beginning to soften and relax the muscles of the face. Maybe blinking the eyes closed, taking the jaw open and closed or side to side. Inhale as you guide those knees back to center. And exhale, release them over to the left. The gaze now can drop out over the right fingertips. And bringing the gaze back to neutral. And then we'll slowly lower the legs down the length of the mat. Coming into our final Shavasana. So if you're in your chair here, feel free to take those hands onto the belly to notice the belly rise and fall with the breath. Gently blink the eyes closed and allow the muscles of the face to soften. Allowing the tongue to fall down away from the roof of the mouth. If you're on the floor here, you might take your blanket or your pillow and place it under the, like right below where the shoulder blades are, like right at the base of the shoulder blades is a nice place for that blanket to go. And it just helps open up the chest and the heart, allowing those arms to fall soft and the shoulders to fall open. Taking a few more intentional breaths here. And then allowing that intentional breath to fade away and just returning to a natural, easy breathing pattern. Allowing yourself just to be here in this space, on your mat, in your practice. Gently beginning to wiggle the fingers and the toes. Roll the wrists and the ankles. Bend the elbows and the knees. And if you're on your mat, make your way onto your right side. Staying there for a moment. Maybe cradling the head into the arms or into the hands. And And then as you're ready, using your hands to press yourself up into a gentle seated position. Or if you find yourself in a chair, maybe taking those arms up overhead, wiggling the fingers and the toes. Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. I invite you to take this attention and awareness that you had during your practice into the rest of your day, to be attentive and aware of yourself, of your surroundings, and of the other people in your life. Shalom. Thank you for joining me for this